Welcome into the Money Vehicle Movement podcast. Marques Colston, brother, we have been teammates, friends for over a decade now, which makes us feel a little bit old, but could not be more excited to have you in and have this discussion around a passion that you have been pursuing for a while now.
No, this conversation is long overdue, man, and glad we're having it. Glad we're having it on this platform. In a way that we can kind of share and create some value for some other folks.
Hey, and those folks are students across the country. Nationwide, we have seen this NIL movement creating, individuals creating businesses. We've seen high school students becoming self-employed and launching out and starting their own business. So as you see this new day and age, this evolution of going away from the traditional, just get a job, stay there for 30 years and hopefully retire. We've seen this entrepreneurialism mindset continue to grow. Can you just kind of begin? You are an entrepreneur. We're going to dive into that. You've mentored entrepreneurs and you've talked to thousands of students in this path. Why? Why is entrepreneurialism growing and why do students today be more curious in it?
Yeah, I think entrepreneurship is it really represents an opportunity to control your own destiny. Um, I think for each individual person, we all come from some circumstances that are different. It could be, your background. It could be the access that you've had to information. It could be access to education. And entrepreneurship is one of the most creative ways that allows you to take what you know, combine it with who you are, and combine it with an opportunity that you see that exists in the market, and really lead with creativity and innovation. I think entrepreneurship it gives you an opportunity to see a real world problem that you feel like you can solve and understand that other people are going through similar things, and it just really gives you an opportunity to go out and solve problems that not just impact the world, impact the people in the world, but also gives you a chance to create and make a living from it. And as we've continued to become more and more digital society, the pathways to entrepreneurship, the pathways to information have opened up, and it's become a lot easier to get access to that information. And I think people are starting to use that and continuing to use that information to not just better themselves but better their communities. And I think for a lot of folks that you know, using myself as an example, I didn't really see I didn't have access growing up to what successful careers look like, right? There weren't a
Mm.
lot of white collar jobs, weren't a lot of white collar career folks in my neighborhood and where I came from. So when you don't grow up with those examples, the pathway to get to those is kind of foreign to you. And what I love to see now is that younger people with access to information, with access to tools, can go out and create what really amounts to their own internships, right? They can go out and create businesses and figure out, how to operate within businesses, how to create businesses, how to create everything that goes into a business. And it's starting to represent the most tangible path to creating the future that you want.
I love seeing it through that lens. You began by saying control your own destiny and the future that you want. And that in and of itself connects where Money Vehicle is coming. This world, this economic landscape has shifted and changed. We see it in how people are looking at quote unquote retirement and how little they feel they are prepared for it. And these are not 18, 19, 20-year olds. These are 68, 69, 70-year olds who don't feel prepared in controlling their own destiny because the world has changed. But something you said about not seeing the pathways in your neighborhood, not seeing the pathways of the traditional route, I really do see so many students saying, I don't see that pathway. I'm going to go create my own.
Mhm.
And like you said, it is an internship because something I believe in, you believe in, you have to be willing to fail. You have to be willing to put yourself out there and see it as a learning experience. If you go start a company and it works, doesn't work for a year or two,
Mhm.
that is your internship and that is your introduction.
Yeah.
But I'm going to circle back to something you said. You said, I think you need to use what you know, who you are, and look for the problems and opportunities you want to solve. Let's focus for a second on the who you are part. Is everybody an entrepreneur? Should every student pursue this path? Or how do you look at some attributes or some preparation for this crazy journey of starting your own business?
Yeah, I mean, to answer your question, entrepreneurship is not for everybody. It's what it really does is it shines a light on, you know, the path to entrepreneurship is really the path to becoming a different version of you. And as you
Wow.
build through the business, you're going to build chapters in your own personal journey along the way that it becomes more and more about the personal growth and the soft skills that you develop to not just become an entrepreneur, but to build a business that can sustain and build a business that can be here and exist ultimately without you in it, right? Those getting to that place is a set of soft skills that you have to build. And to your earlier point, you only build those soft skills through adversity. You build those skills through failing and through setbacks. And the thing that allows you to persevere through all of those things is the right mindset, right? It's this growth mindset that understands that failing is a part of the journey. Setbacks are a part of what not just motivates you to have success. Setbacks are what gives you the information to do things differently so that you can unlock success. And it's one of the riskier things that you can do. But I think that the thing that doesn't get talked about enough is that even when the business fails, even if the business doesn't make it, the person who you become in that process is a better, more evolved version of you that is more equipped to take on whatever comes next after the business doesn't work. Right. So I think it is a challenging journey. It can be tough. It's something that it can consume you, right? It's something that you're building, something that you're passionate about. You're building something that you see where the competition lies, and you're always trying to outwork the competition. But it can consume you, right? Because at the end of the day, you're the chief problem solver. That's what an entrepreneur really is. And it's a lot different than having a job where you show up at 9 o'clock, you go home at 4 or 5 o'clock, and there's somebody else making all the decisions. And when you show up the next day, everything's taken care of. Entrepreneurship is not that journey.
No,
If you want it,
not in the
you got to build it. If you need it, you got to go find the skills to make it work. But it really does. Success really lies in that mindset, that growth mindset, and it takes a ton of confidence. It takes a ton of drive, but it also takes a ton of humility to make it as an entrepreneur.
and one just looking at that mindset, that growth mindset. I love that you said you have to become a version of yourself that you aren't today. And that humility is such a big piece because you look at the competition, and it doesn't matter what company, what industry, what place you're in, there's somebody that you're going to have to steal their lunch. We played in the NFL. We know as rookies, you walk in, you got to take someone's job.
Yep.
And as you look at it as an entrepreneur, you are always going to start with the deck stacked against you. They're a bigger company. They have dollars for marketing and PR and sales teams.
Mm-hmm.
They have people they can pay to go fix issues. And at the beginning, it is all on you and all in your world. And that resilience, you talk about that confidence. It is a con at start, and con is in confidence. You got to trick yourself into believing, and that is not a one-time event. I'm confident enough to be an entrepreneur. I took the leap. It's a daily thing. It's like showering. I wake up, you wake up. We have to tell ourselves, I'm confident I can keep going, because there is going to be something that knocks you down. There is going to be a blind side, something that you missed. And if you are that kind of person who wants to show up with someone else giving you a task list, and then that task list is done at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you get to go and sleep at night, That ain't the world for you. There is no task list. It's never ending, and there is no one else who is going to assign you. I love to tell people it's like being on an island in the dark. You got to figure out a lot of things by feeling and, like you said, experiencing.
Hmm.
Um, but that mindset around failing, I really love to circle back to that because I see fail as your first attempt in learning. FAIL, first attempt in
I
learning.
like that.
That is such a natural need for somebody who wants to go this path. Can you explain a little bit, and maybe it's your personal journey, how you became an entrepreneur? When, and maybe let's start there. When did Marcus, I leave school, I'm entering the NFL. You weren't the highest draft pick, but you started to make a career. When did you look around and go, well, I want to be a business. I want more than just football, Colston. When did you start becoming that entrepreneurial mind?
So what's interesting is I always look at our journey as an entrepreneurial journey, right?
Interesting.
Just from the way that we get to the doorstep of the NFL, right? You have this dream, this vision that a lot of times you are the only one that truly believes that this thing is possible, and you continue to invest in you at a level that ultimately makes the impossible possible. And through your training, through your mindset, through tricking yourself every now and again, you can ultimately put yourself in a position where other people are willing to invest in you. And that's what it means to get drafted or to get signed by a team. So
Mm.
unofficially, I've been an entrepreneur most of my adult life. I built the business of Marcus. I built this persona. I built this athletic persona that at some point I wanted somebody else to invest in. And I had to go through the steps. I had to go through the fire, continue to become a better, more refined version of myself, continue to build not just the soft skills, the personal skills, but continue to build. I never played special teams in high school, never played special teams in college. As a rookie, you're playing special teams. You have to learn a new skill set, right? So this journey,
I will say, as a veteran, Marcus didn't have to play special teams. He was too valuable.
hey, you go back and watch the tape.
You earned it,
Oh,
though.
oh,
You earned
oh
it.
06 preseason when they still had a wedge. I had to go down and bust a wedge. But no, like the journey through sports is really an entrepreneurial one. And because of the way that I came in the league as a late pick, I was never comfortable enough in my role to say, all right, I'm good. I'm just gonna be here for a while. So I was always thinking of, what's next, right? Because as the saying goes, NFL it stands for not for long. So probably year two or year three is when I really started to think about what's next. And officially in like 2010 or 2011, I think it was. I'm in year four at that point, year five at that point. I thought it would be a great idea to, while I was playing for the Saints, I thought it'd be a great idea to buy into an indoor football team. It started as a passive investment, just a way to learn the other side, the business side of football, right? So that's how I entered in. And I spent the first year just really shadowing the owner, learning the business. And I started to see things that, like, man, if I ever got the opportunity, I would do XYZ differently. And, after that first year, I was like, you know what? I feel like I can do this. I don't really have the background. I don't really have the tool set, the skill set, but I have this vision and I know what I know about the game. So I thought it'd be a great idea after a year to buy him out and took over the reins. So as a 27, 28-year-old NFL player, I was the owner, operator, general manager of my indoor team. I rebranded the whole thing, overhauled all the operations. I was in charge of ticket sales, sponsorship sales, football ops, all the business ops, community outreach, and that's when I made that official leap into entrepreneurship. And it was a journey that I could have never. Here's the funny thing: at the time, I was actually studying. I was in George Washington University taking my MBA. I actually when I started working in this business, I had to leave school, stop taking my MBA classes because I had to run this business. So this was literally
Too
my
much.
MBA on the fly. Um, great experience. Just figuring out who I was, figuring out, all right, these problems in front of you that you don't really have the answers to. You've got to go create the answers in a way that fits the resources that you have. And I think any entrepreneur can really resonate with that statement. It's like you have this vision, but you have this set of finite resources, and they don't match. You got to figure out a way to bring those things together. And for me, that first year of taking this sport that I know and love and I can play really well on the field, but being humbled by the fact that I was a rookie again on the other side trying to run the business of it, it was such a great learning experience. It taught me a lot about myself as a leader. It taught me a lot about myself as a business person and as a strategist. And ultimately, we had success on the field. We ended up winning a league championship my first year. We sold more sponsorships, more ticket sales than any other time in that franchise's history. Um, and we did it with a really agile team. We did it with a team full of folks that were just doers. And that experience um, took a whole lot more out of me than I ever expected that it would. But the return on that investment, I'm still reaping the benefits of that personal growth to this day because it's the singular thing that I lean on um, whenever I get into challenging situations. Like I know the monster that I had in front of me that I had to figure out how to tame without tools and resources, and being able to do that in at least a mediocre way, right, gave me so much confidence that I can step into these new arenas, step into these new, situations in the business world and figure it out. Because there's so much of entrepreneurship is just figure it out, man.
Every day, like you said, chief problem solver. And I hope, students are hearing the idea of a little bit of that imposter syndrome. Your first year, all you did was shadow and
Yeah.
learn. The first year, you didn't come in and tell, you came in and listened. And then you had that vision. And I think anybody who launches out into the entrepreneurial world has to have that vision. You have to see something of yourself, which we touched on. You have to become a version of yourself that is not currently there today,
Mhm.
and you have to create something, and you're going to be told no. You're going to be told by everybody, it can't be done, it won't be done, it's impossible, because they, in their world, in their vision, they don't see it. You have to have that clear view of yourself. So I hope the messages coming through are that idea of you are going to jump into things that are overwhelming and lost. Like you said, you were balancing being an NFL superstar. I'll give you some shine. You never do, so I'll spot it up. As well as a professional and a business owner of an entire league organization that wasn't in New Orleans. It's not like you were walking down the street and going into an office and doing this. This was all virtual. This was all compartmentalized, but it was managing the storms, identifying what is a nice to have, what is a need to have,
Mhm.
and looking at it and saying, yes, those people can do those things. Us in our situation where we are today, we're not able to do that just yet. I would love to dive just totally into why rebranding was one of the first messages that you wanted to change.
Mhm.
But looking at it more, let's circle back to this idea that you saw yourself as a business. You saw yourself, again, us being professional athletes. I think this NIL movement has forced us to identify that even
Yep.
earlier, but you've coined a term and you've told me and challenged Jed, what is the business of you? What is the business of Jedediah? Can you just expand on? Because I think this is where students really start.
Mhm.
They need to start looking at themselves like you did. I took the leap. You became a professional, you became an entrepreneur, and then you kind of validated it. It's not immediate. You don't jump in and validate it day one. You validate it over time. So, can you just kind of talk through that business of you mindset and how a student can use it to pursue this kind of opportunity?
Absolutely. I think everyone at this day and age, especially where we are with with digital communication and digital branding has to consider themselves a business. And, as an athlete, you figure out really quickly that talent is not enough, right?
Wow.
Talent is not enough,
Say that again.
right? There,
Oh,
there's something about the intangibles of who you are and figuring out how to unlock your inner potential that makes you successful as an athlete. And when you really think about and start to map that to business, it's very similar in that there are really no new business models coming out, right? You got a subscription business, you got retail businesses, you've got there's only a handful of business models that exist. So if you're not creating new business models, what you have to do differently is you either have to deliver it, you have to deliver the model differently, or you have to deliver it to an audience differently. So for us as athletes, talent is not enough. For you as a business owner, the concept is not enough. You have to figure out, how can I deliver this? How can I differentiate myself to stand out enough to create an opportunity for myself, which means take an opportunity from someone else. Right. So when you think about this business of you concept, it's how can I cultivate this inner potential that I have? Right. And potential is not just in what you do, potential is really a function of who you are. Right. So when we talk about branding and we talk about NIL, we talk about rebranding that organization. Branding is more than just, hey, this is my logo, this is my color schemes. Branding is really the external representation of who you are, who you want to be, who you want to become. And really the business of you is figuring out, like, how can I be this, and how can I present this to the world in a way that creates value, creates unique value, right? So when you think about going back to talking about mindset, going back to talking about growth mindset, this more just as much as anyone else. Like, the difference between a guy making a roster and not making a roster, um, all talent, talent is the same across the board. The difference becomes the mindset. Back to the humility, right? If I'm coming in the game as a wide receiver and all I want to do is catch the ball, like, there's limited spots that you can participate,
limited.
right?
Yep.
But if I'm coming in with the mindset of humility and growth, and I got to learn new things to create opportunities for myself, I'm going to come in and say, all right, I might have to play in the slot. I might have to play special teams. I might have to go down and cover this kickoff. I might have to, you know what I mean? It's a lot of the same, a lot of the mindset and a lot of the things that you have to be very keenly aware of about who you are and how you operate. Um, that's what allows you to unlock the inner potential, because you see so many people that lead with talent so much, and when the talent's not enough, they don't have that thing, they don't have an understanding of who they are to fall back on. And as you work through and you kind of manage this life as an entrepreneur, you start to lean on the internal things, the internal qualities, to drive you forward, because, again, success talent is not enough anymore, right? I'm competing against other businesses. There might be other startup businesses, there might be well established businesses. What about my business opportunity is unique? How can I deliver that in a way that's consistent, and how can I deliver that to an audience that really cares? And in order to do that, you've got to be keenly aware of who you are, who your business is, what your resources are, right? So the business of you, to me, is really, like, that's the core of entrepreneurship. Understanding who you are, what value you can provide, how you can deliver that value to specific audiences. Once you figure that out, you kind of cracked half of the code, because then it just becomes a matter of, how can I attach these things to my product, or how can I attach these things to my service, and now you have something that's special and unique.
I I think that business of you, that identification of your brand, and in Money Vehicle, we identify brand is how the external people see your business. Culture is how people within the business identify who your business is.
Mhm.
And so I really love that connection, the grit. I saw an interview with the NVIDIA founder the other day delivering to Stanford students, and he said, "I feel bad for you because, like you said, they lead with talent, and they've always been told that that's going to be enough." And he says, "I feel bad because one day you're going to wake up and that's not going to be enough."
Right.
And how many of you will be able to respond after the first time you got knocked down? And if we realize anything in this space of entrepreneur, you got to have grit. You got to have the resilience to get back up. And so
Just to piggyback on that
go.
point, because I think that point is I think it gets lost in translation sometimes because talent will get you to a level. Talent will
Yeah.
absolutely get you to a certain level. It's if you don't want to get stuck and paralyzed at one level, then you have to figure out how to become a more evolved version of yourself. To put on the talents are the things that you're born with. Skills are the things that you can go
Ah,
out and develop, right?
say that again. Say that again.
You're like your innate talents are the things that you're born with. They're the intangibles. It might be your personality, it might be your leadership qualities, it might be like the things that you do naturally well. When you can complement them with real skill sets that drive you forward, that combination is the thing that sets you apart. And the ability to do that over time and consistently evolve in that way, that's what sets you up to continue climbing the ladder of success.
I look at a young, maybe not young anymore, woman who has taken over the world, Taylor Swift, and her team always says nobody with this much talent works this hard on their skills.
Yep.
And it is exactly what you just said. She is arguably the most talented musician of our generation, question mark. But she works harder on her skills
Yep.
than anybody else that they've seen. I think that is a massive, massive statement. Man, and honestly, it kind of hit me. You saw it. Like I was like, I don't know if I really look at skills and talents enough of like who Jet is. So I'm a student now. We've talked about the vision. I kind of have a vision in mind. We've talked about some of the mindset. I'm comfortable failing and I want to learn. How do I start? Like, Marcus, what is the beginning of my business? I heard you mention an audience. I've heard you mention a problem. Can you just give me those first starting steps of how to become the business of me?
Well, I think everything that I'm about to say, wrap it with start slowly and start in a way that you give yourself grace. So everything I'm about to say is do it slowly and with grace. I think the only place to start is by looking internally and saying what are my natural talents and abilities? What do I do in my sleep? What am I really good at? What do people know me for? Um, what do I want people to know me for? I think that to me is always the starting point for a first time entrepreneur because if you if that's not in your foundation, like if you go out and just chase the next opportunity because you see dollar signs attached to it, there's a finite amount of motivation attached to that. And once you get to that prize, whatever that prize is, and the motivation goes away, it's really tough to keep it going. So to me, it starts with internally, what am I naturally gifted at? What gets me out of bed in the morning? What are the things that I am known for or want to be known for? From there, it's what are the skills that I actually have to take that passion, take that skill set, and turn it into something tangible. So once you know who you are, know what you do well, you know what skills you have, now you start to figure out how can I combine them in a way to solve a problem that I'm passionate about, right? And you'll hear me keep going back to passion because ultimately, like I said, the external rewards is not enough motivation all the time. There's got to be
No.
this internal drive that not just pushes through the success, but the internal drive is what pushes you through those dark times and like it becomes your north star that pushes you through the tough times where you can't really see where you're navigating. If you're on that island in the dark, like you talked about, like your passion is the only thing that lights the path for you sometimes, right? So if you can build a business around your natural abilities, around skill sets that you have currently or skill sets that you have access to building, and it's something that you're passionate about, now you're starting to put together something that is needed, is something that you're good at and can continue to grow into, and something that you're passionate enough about that you'll fight through all of the adversity to make sure it's a win.
Can you continue down that idea of uh, the problem? And I, I see kind of my talent is me and what I am good at today. My skills are things that I know I can improve on, and I'm looking at that problem. And what about the problem? Is it, hey, I need to see a problem that one, people want to be solved, maybe hopefully need to be solved. B, I need to find who, not just who is the ultimate person I'm building the business for, but who is also maybe going to pay you for that service.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at the problem as, you know, your guiding light of, where that passion kind of comes from. Can you just kind of expand on how you identify a problem and then build the business around that?
For sure. So the good thing with identifying a challenge is the world that we live in, right? It's you have global connectivity at your fingertips, right? So the reality becomes the problems that you see and experience, or the problems that you see and experience around you, there's a really high probability that others are experiencing the same things, right? So once you've identified that problem and you've identified that there are other people that are going through this problem and are looking to solve for this challenge, now you know, and you have what's now called a market, right? And I think one of the common missteps for young entrepreneurs is the problem doesn't have to be a massive, massive, massive problem, right? You don't need a massive audience to have a successful business. That's what I mean. Um,
Hmm.
as you're chasing the massive, massive audiences, you're also competing with everyone else chasing the massive, massive audiences. So one of the keys is if you can find an audience that, and you can find connectivity and like through lines through that audience to where you have like this, what's called a niche. You have this smaller group, but this smaller group is one that you kind of intimately know, or you kind of can right size the solution to solve for this smaller group. It's going to allow you to create a product that really resonates, or a service that really resonates with that group, and you can always scale success from there, right? So what I mean is you look internally, the things that you're passionate about, things you that wake you up in the morning. You have the skill set. um, you've combined it to create this problem, and you have this small market that you can serve. If you serve that small market at a really high level, what that allows you to do is either continue to get deeper with that product and find more people in that audience, or you can now take the insights that you learned from serving that audience really well and then apply them to other audiences. I think one like I said before, one of the bigger challenges becomes you just see this massive market opportunity. You see this massive market that you can serve, but again, the vision and the resources don't match up,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
you're spot on with the vision. You're attacking in the right places, but you're gonna get outgunned by people who have more resources than you.
Yep.
So I think, being able to identify that niche audience that you can really deliver at a high level with is going to give you options moving forward, whether you expand into new audiences or you just deepen the relationship with that audience. It gives you a really good starting point to kind of prime for your success.
Niches get riches.
That's it.
And I think that is possibly one of the biggest, because financial literacy, what does Money Vehicle do? Teach people about money. Who can you serve? Everybody.
Yep.
If you're for everyone, you're for no one.
Yep.
And so highlighting who is the one person I am trying to change and what is that value I can add to that very specific audience, that's my market.
Yep.
And like you said, once you figure that out, then you can duplicate it and go from there. But such a powerful, powerful call out of niches get riches. How can I focus on that singular problem for that singular person? And perhaps it's myself. Maybe I was the first person with the problem,
Yep.
or maybe I saw the opportunity in the market. Can you talk about business plans? I mean, we start out in it. You Google it, you look it up online, you'll see a YouTube video. You need a 5-year plan and you need a 10-page document, and it's like, how much of that should we be focused on? Yes, I need to build a business plan, and how much of it is, all right, I'm going to build the plane as we fly.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say personally, I think you have to start with the kind of business that you want to build, right? Is this like a solo business? Is it a side hustle? Or are you looking to build a scalable business, right? Because the plans for each one of those kind of looks different. It has different components
Mhm.
to it. Like as a solo business and a side hustle, it's you, right? So the other some of the parts of the business model, the team and the staffing and the culture and all of those things aren't really as applicable in a solo business because you're kind of the arbiter of all those things, right? So I think you first start with what kind of business am I trying to build, um, and then from there it's you've figured out the idea, you know the problem you're solving, you have this unique value that you want to create. Um, what I tend to do is I used to go into the whole, 10, 15, 20 page business plan. What I've started to do early on is create just lay it out in what's called the lean canvas model. And what a lean canvas does is it's literally a one-page document that goes through every component of a traditional business plan, from the problem that you're solving to what is your solution to who are your customers to what is your unique value proposition, what are the key metrics that you're going to use to measure whether or not you're successful, um, what are your costs and expenses going to look like, and where are your revenue streams, right? The lean canvas lays all of these things out in a one page document to where bare minimum it allows you to work through your idea to understand how it exists and how it gets created in every one of these areas of the business. So I would say to start out with, I would suggest starting with a lean canvas just to really validate the idea, to validate what you know to be true about this opportunity in this business that you want to create. And then from there, you know, it tells you, it's going to give you a lot of insight into where you need to spend more time figuring out within those 9 areas, if that makes sense. Because
Perfect sense.
I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs over the years, just like even in the investment world that I was in for a while. You see a lot of entrepreneurs that will come to you with a 30-page business plan, and as you start having conversations, the business plan is there because they felt like they needed the plan. The business plan doesn't have like the connectivity, and it doesn't have the nuance, and it doesn't really tell the story that they think it tells, but it's a 30-page document and it's here because I needed you to have it. Right. So start with the plan that allows you to map everything out. And then from there you know where you need to build.
And I think that word you just repeated 2 or 3 times, start.
Yep.
Rough draft, first draft, whatever, you can improve upon as you progress. And I think one question somebody asked me early on that really helped clarify, when you are starting your business plan, do you want to be the best pizza parlor in town, or do you want to be Domino's Pizza? Those are very different
Mhm.
objectives, very different goals, and very different plans. And I think your call out of side hustle, self employed income versus entrepreneur, I'm building a business,
Yeah.
I need a team. One works without me,
Yeah.
one is dependent on me. Very different business models and business plans
Yep.
there. So I think that call out for you as well. But that idea of, do I want to go compete with Domino's Pizza, or do I want to just find my niche and my audience that is local that is going to say I'm the best pizza parlor in town. Brother, I love this. I know I could pick your brain for hours. Let's leave on maybe some entrepreneurial do's and entrepreneurial don'ts. Like, what are you message you want students to walk away remembering one or two things, and then maybe one or two red flags as they venture down this path?
I mean, for me, the number one do is start. If it feels like it's something that you're interested in, start, and work your way through it until you figure out it's not for you. There's no other way. There's no other way to know if you're really cut from this cloth, right? So my number one do would just be to start. Take the idea, take the passion, put it on paper, and see what you have, and see based on what it's going to take to build it. Are you cut out to do it? Um, on the other side, the don'ts. I mean, one thing I've seen is don't overcommit your resources without at least having some form of a plan. Like, and it's not even just financial resources. It's I've seen people go out and tell the world, what they're planning to do, get people on board with it, get people excited about it, and the plan doesn't work out. And now you've not just burned your time, you burn other people's time, you burn relationship capital, you burn bridges. Don't overcommit resources without having a plan. Um, Another one is it starts as your idea, but ultimately you're in business to service your customer.
Mm,
Customer feedback is
mm.
the fuel that's going to drive your business.
Man.
Don't be too ego driven to take customer feedback and make your product better. Um, and then the third, I would say, don't underestimate the power of a good support network. It could be mentors. It could be mentors that help you in the business. It could be just friends that allow you to unload in those off days. Um, Again, like entrepreneurship is really a journey in personal development, and you're going to have those times where it's overwhelming. You're going to have those times where you don't have the answers and you don't even know where to start looking for the answers, right? And you're going to need that support network not just to point you in the right direction, but every now and again you're going to need those that support network to level set you emotionally and just be able to unload some of the weight that you're carrying so that you can recharge the battery and dive back in. So
Yeah.
that support network is everything. It's some peers, it's some people that are ahead of you in the journey, it's some people that are behind you in the journey that you might be inspiring. That support network is everything because it's the fuel that continues to keep your emotions regulated. That ultimately, when you can regulate your emotions, now you can become a more consistent business owner, and consistency wins over time.
In all things,
Yep.
consistency, habits win over time.
Yep.
And I think one, like as you just pointed out, you're not going to have every answer, and there's going to be problems that you get caught. I got caught in a meeting a few years ago with the school district. No idea what the answer was supposed to be, but took me a year to go figure it out, and you just go figure it out.
Hmm.
I love connecting the dots. We started on this idea of being an entrepreneur as an opportunity to control your destiny. And as we're ending, we're seeing this journey. We're seeing this journey to be self improvement and self development, to control ourselves, our emotions, and our futures, and also that this is not a destination kind of process. Maybe yeah, you sell one day or maybe it ends one day, but for the most part, if you're an entrepreneur and you're in business, you're still working on the business as well as in the business.
Yep.
So looking at it and like you said, with grace and pace, slow and steady wins the race. I did not mean all that to rhyme, but I stole it from you. You can use that in the future.
No, you
Uh,
delivered it well. You got it.
that was good. Good way to wrap up. Good way to end. Business of you being an entrepreneur, brother. You have since that indoor football arena. You have done an amazing job of being a serial entrepreneur, continuing to humble yourself, learn, change, and continue to build the Marques Colston that you have a vision for your kids and for the future, to know you as much more than the Saints' greatest receiver to ever play the game, which wasn't that bad to be known for in the first place.
I always in that
But thank you
for
for
now.
your
For
time.
now, the next one's coming, so I'll take that title for now.
That's a good hold the place and tell.
Yep.
Appreciate you, and anything before we jump off.
No, I just I appreciate this conversation, man. Appreciate you having me on, and yeah, this is the first of many, brother. I appreciate you.
I hope these words get to many students across the country and inspire the next group of entrepreneurs. Thank you and enjoy the day.